Can somebody call me an ambulance? Because, and I'm not being dramatic, but I think I might be dead.
Been a while since I've done this, eh? Howdy people, how are you doing? And welcome back to another video. I can only apologise for not uploading these past 2 weeks. I needed a break, if I'm being honest with you. I needed a break from watching the football and from YouTube entirely because it was just stressing me out completely. It was just so annoying and I just had to take a step back. A lot has happened since I've been on this break, so we're going to have a bit of a catch-up. We're going to go over the 4 games that I missed: Blackpool, Wigan, Oxford and Northampton. Talk about them, talk about the game, the lineups, the results, where we stand in the table. Let's get the worst one out of the way first, which of course was Blackpool at home after that Burton defeat. According to this website that I'm using, we played a 4-1-2-1-2 formation, so it was a 4-4-2 diamond, with Amos in goal, Gunter, Oshilaja, Akin Famuwo and Ben Purrington in a defensive line. Darren Pratley making his 100th appearance for the club, Dearlane Jaisimi, Liam Miller and Andrew Shinney in the middle, and it was two up top, Connor Washington and Jaden Stockley as that big man, little man front two that we like to play. Now, I'm going to spend as less time as possible talking about this game because, let's face it, it's probably for the best. As I said, I didn't watch any of these 4 games I'm about to talk about. I'm just basing this off the highlights and from what people said online. And the Blackpool game sounded and probably definitely was the worst performance this season. It was just absolutely terrible. 10 minutes in, we concede a goal through a Jerry Yates penalty, which was just, yeah, typical us really to give a penalty away that early on. Then we conceded another long-range belter, another goal from outside the box through Matty Virtue. He just takes it, no one even around him, just has a shot, low-driven. We went into the break 2-0 down. Bowyer at half-time made a quadruple substitution. Chuckson-Eke, Ian Martson, Matt Smith and Ben Watson all came on the pitch, yet Darren Pratley, who was on a yellow card, stayed on the pitch, which I find rather strange considering that Bowyer usually takes off a player that has a yellow card at half-time. But Pratley stayed on with that yellow card, and literally minutes into the second half, it went from bad to worse as Pratley got himself sent off on his 100th appearance for the club, which is just very typical Darren Pratley, isn't it? We then give away another penalty. Jerry Yates steps up, he bags his second of the game, and then it went from worse to just an absolute disaster as Chuckson-Eke got himself sent off for violent conduct apparently and would serve a 3 to 4 game ban as a result of that. Thankfully though, we would go to the governing bodies and he would get that red card rescinded, which I think was fair because I just don't think that was a red card at all. I mean, he's jumped up in the air, his arms are out. You don't jump up for a header with your arms by your side and jump like that, do you? Like you don't do it. And that's how the match ended. We got an absolute hiding. We lost 3-0 to Blackpool, an absolutely shocking result, a shocking performance, and that result actually saw us slide down to 13th in the League One table, the lowest we'd ever been in the entire season. And yeah, at that point we just hit an all-time low. Charlton Twitter completely exploded at that point, you know. That game was also the worst post-match interview from Lee Bowyer I'd ever seen. It was just, the stuff I was hearing from him was just absolutely ridiculous. You know, when he was coming out saying he never makes excuses for the performances, which is just completely wrong because it seems that every game he makes an excuse. And then what really worried me after that game was he was saying that the players just don't try. They just do not care. They just said they're just lacking in confidence. They're just not playing. They're not following his instructions and things like that. And after that game, I really did think that there's something going wrong there. I was sitting there after that game reading the post-match interview. I was just sitting there going, okay, something's not right here. There is a real divide between the manager and the players. And, you know, coming out once and publicly criticising your players is okay. Doing it every single week and then expecting them to play for you and to follow your instructions and to play with confidence, it ain't going to happen. And it's as simple as that. And after that game, that's how it felt. It felt like the Bowyer had completely lost the dressing room. Don't get me wrong, the players, some of them, yes, they don't care. The majority of them did not care after that match, and they were absolutely diabolical and just showed that they're not good enough. But, you know, Bowyer really was under a lot of fire, and rightly so, to be totally honest with you, completely rightly so. You can't be coming out and saying that the players don't care, they have no confidence, they're not playing for me, and then also saying that he never makes excuses and that he's a good manager. But anyway, Blackpool beat us 3-0. Again, our home form just being absolutely shocking. 8 games without a win at home after that. And then the following Tuesday, we hit the road against Wigan Athletic at the DW Stadium. According to the website I'm using, we changed formation from a 4-1-2-1-2, a 4-4-2 diamond, to a 4-3-3. So Amos retained his spot in goal, but it was a completely new backline, with Akinfenwa being the only player that retained his spot. Matthews came in for Gunter, Jason Pearce came in for Oshilaja, and Ian Martson returned to the side in place of Ben Purrington. Jake Forster-Caskey, after a brief spell out with an injury, he came back to the side. Ben Watson also started, Smith started, so a completely new midfield. And then Miller, Chuckson-Ike and Connor Washington led the front three. So that's 7 changes to the side, so a completely new team, which, if I'm being totally honest with you, probably was for the best, because that team against Blackpool could definitely not carry on for the Wigan game. So to be honest, I don't blame Bowyer for making 7 changes and completely changing it around. Obviously a whole new defensive line, a whole new midfield. And we finally got a result. We beat Wigan by 1-0. Chuckson-Ike, with the only goal of the game, obviously got his red card rescinded from the Blackpool game. He starts and scores his 12th goal of the season, 13 in all competitions. And from what I've heard, it definitely was not a pretty game of football. Definitely not. Connor Washington flicked it on to an Ike who chased down 2 Wigan defenders. Curtis Tilt was one of them. I can't remember the other one was. But they basically mucked it up. And Ike pounced and he took a shot on the left foot, beat Jones. And it was 1-0 to Charlton. Of course, that's how the game ended. It was the only goal of the game. And from what I've heard, it was not a pretty game of football. I was just happy that we got the win. A win is a win at the end of the day. And we can all celebrate those 3 points. And I did see on Twitter that a lot of people were saying that, you know, the same thing was happening basically on social media that happens every time we seem to get a result. You know, the people that are religiously supporting Bowyer constantly go, where are the Bowyer out lot? You know, seriously, just celebrate the win. You know what I mean? Like, we've got 3 points. Stop trying to cause an argument with people. It just, that's how toxic Charlton Twitter is. And I honestly, over these past couple of weeks and this last month, have seriously considered deleting my account on Twitter, because genuinely it is just so toxic on that platform. It's just so annoying. And just to see people still going, where's the Bowyer out lot? Like, after we've got one result out of a few that have definitely not gone our way, you know. I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I actually think that was our first win since Rochdale, so our first win in a month, you know, and we're going, where's the Bowyer out brigade? You know, it's just stupid, you know what I mean? Like, regardless of the performance, just celebrate the win. And that's exactly what I was doing. I was just happy that we got the win. I know a lot of people were saying that, oh, it was 23rd place Wigan, it's nothing to get excited about. I'm just like, look, just celebrate the win. We won the game. Let's see if we can build upon this. We got the win, and that's all that matters. And to be honest, I'm probably going to spend not much time talking about the next game, which was Oxford United again at the Kassam Stadium. Again, we saw another formation change from a 4-3-3 to a 4-4-2, but there were no changes. Bowyer kept the exact same 11 from the Wigan game, which I felt was the right thing to do. You know, constantly we've seen us get results and we're still making 3 to 4, sometimes 5 changes. It ended a bore draw. It was 0-0, but we very nearly won it right at the death, 94th minute. We get a penalty. Jayden Stockley gets taken out in the penalty area. I have seen it. It is quite questionable. It didn't look that convincing, but it was just a case of, okay, we got the penalty, just shut up and let's just take it. Ronnie Schwartz, who come off the bench in that game, he stepped up to take it. It was a well-struck penalty, but the keeper saved it, and it was, you know, it was a good save. You have to give prompts to the Oxford keeper. It was a good save, but you know, to get a penalty in the 94th minute and to miss it, in those sorts of situations, you got to be scoring. It's as simple as that. You have to be scoring the penalty. But, you know, again, after that game, I'm going to talk about Charlton Twitter again, but it just exploded after that. It just completely exploded. And Ronnie Schwartz was just hit with criticism, just abuse, and he got scapegoated. He got scapegoated. That's exactly what had happened. I just can't help but feel sorry for him. I really just cannot help but feel sorry for him. I was just seeing, like, Charlton Twitter, people just constantly abusing him and criticising him, saying, oh, he's absolutely crap and he's rubbish. Have a day off, you know what I mean? Just give over. The guy, I mean, I know when we signed him, I wasn't exactly that keen on the signing, I'll be honest. I wasn't that keen. But he's a long-term signing, 2.5-year deal. He's only just come through the door. He came in having not played since August, and you also need to consider the circumstances he's under whilst at this club. His pregnant partner is still in Denmark and could well miss the birth of his child, which would be it'd be awful. It'd be absolutely awful. And we're still in lockdown. We're in a global pandemic. So he probably hasn't had the opportunity to properly gel with his teammates. And, you know, as I said, with him not playing since August, he probably isn't that up to scratch yet. Now is not the time to judge Schwartz. You know, let's be honest. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, we need to get rid of him in the summer. We're not going to. Let's be honest. We're not going to get rid of him in the summer. He's going to be here to stay at least to the end of next season. It was not that bad of a penalty. It was a good penalty. He's hit it in the bottom right. It's just the keeper's guessed the right way and he's made a good save. It's a decent penalty, yet he's being scapegoated like, oh, he's shit, he's so bad, send him back to Denmark, you know what I mean? And again, it just shows how toxic Charlton Twitter is. I do feel bad for Schwartz. I do feel really, really bad for Schwartz. And I think that, like I said, now isn't the time to judge him properly because you need to understand his circumstances and what he's going through right now. Yes, admittedly, is he playing well? Not really, but there are reasons for that. I do have hope and faith that Schwartz will eventually come good for us. I do believe that. And now we jump into the final game that I'll be rounding up in this video, which of course was last night's game against Northampton. We stuck with a 4-4-2 formation, but we did make a few changes to the side. Gunter came back into right back in place of Adam Matthews after he suffered a light injury against Oxford, which has been confirmed to be not that bad. He's going to be out for about a week or so. Darren Pratley came into centre-back in place of Famuo. When I saw that, I was just like, oh God, here we go again. Stockley came back into the side in place of Chuck Sanike, and finally, Albie Morgan was set free. For the first time in God knows how long, it feels like absolutely ages, Morgan was back in the starting 11, and I was so happy to see him in that team. In terms of the game, once again, like the Wigan and the Oxford game, didn't hear very good things about the performance. It just seemed very, very, you know, slow and lethargic. Once again, a lot of people were saying that it was just the typical Stockley's playing, so let's punt the ball forward to him and pray. That's what I heard, basically, and it really was just not, you know, it just wasn't a good thing to, you know, it just wasn't a good thing to hear, especially from where we needed to get a win at home. You know, 8 games without a win at home. We needed to get a decent result, and we needed to finally get on good terms at home and kick on and build upon the 2 results that we'd had. Now, half-time was obviously 0-0, and then in the second half, we managed to get a penalty fairly early on. Now, again, I've seen the penalty. Like the Oxford game, very questionable. Very, very questionable as to whether that is a penalty. I reviewed it last night, and it looks more like a simple coming together between 2 players more than the Northampton player committing a foul. They're jumping for the same ball. Yeah, the Northampton players jumped a bit higher than Forster-Caskey, but it just looks like a simple coming together. Jake's coming at him at speed, and obviously the Northampton players jumped in to try and head the ball, and they've just clattered into each other, and the ref has given instantly, no hesitation whatsoever, gives a penalty to us. Don't know if it was a penalty. Washington, our designated penalty taker, he steps up and he scores for the first time since the Peterborough game, I want to say, which finally managed to get on the score sheet. And not just once, but twice. Chuck Sanike, who came on in the second half, bombed down the left-hand side. He pulled it across to Andrew Shinnie. Shinnie's shot was saved. It came back to Washington and drills it into the bottom left corner. A very good finish. But we couldn't end the game without making it a little bit nervy, as Northampton did get a goal at the end of the game, which was quite a poor goal to concede, if being honest with you. Corner come in, 2 of them unmarked at the front post, headed in, looping over Amos and into the far corner for 2-1. It was quite a nervy last 2 minutes to end the game off, obviously conceding in the 93rd minute. You know, you are quite edgy, you know, you're on edge, just thinking, oh God, don't throw this away now, boys. But we didn't, and we got ourselves our first win since December. We beat Northampton by 2-1, and yeah, things are slowly, ever so surely, starting to come good for us. We are seemingly, or it feels like anyway, starting to turn a corner now. We do find ourselves in 8th, but we are level on points with Ipswich, just 1 point off the playoffs behind Portsmouth, who are in quite a bad run of form at the moment. It is funny how a couple of results can change fans' perspectives and opinions on our season, because after the Blackpool game, or even long before that, Charlton fans were under the impression that this season was done, you know, completely done out here. We were going to get, you know, probably like a 10th or 11th place finish at best, and that's where we were going to end up. But now, after these good string of results, you know, 7 points out of our last 3 games, we're now ever so slowly climbing back into the playoff hunt. Some of our opinions have changed, you know, and all of a sudden, the season that we thought was done out here looks like it's back on the cards, and it really does look like that we could well get back into that playoff hunt. We're not playing the greatest football. We're not playing that, you know, inspiring creative, high-energy football. But if you look back at the run that we had at the start of the season, you know, that 8-game unbeaten run and 6 clean sheets in a row, it was the same story. You know, we weren't playing that great football. We weren't playing that well. As a matter of fact, we've not played that well all season, in my opinion. There's only a handful of games where I've genuinely thought we looked very good and we've dominated from start to finish and played good football. But during that run, we weren't playing great football, but we were grafting for the results. We were grinding them out and we got the job done. And now it looks like that we're doing the same thing. Ever since that Blackpool game where we completely changed the defence and the midfield, completely revamped the squad, we've looked a lot better in terms of results, and we've definitely been getting those points on the board. And, you know, it's just about now trying to keep that run of form going. You know, we are only a point off the playoffs, but a lot of teams, I think every team actually above us, have games in hand. Even Blackpool behind us, who I think are 3 points behind us, have 4 games in hand on us. So it is quite scary looking in around us that everybody around us has games in hand. But if we can keep this run of form going, if we can keep this form going and keep getting those results, it puts the pressure on those teams around us to deliver results as well. Our next couple of games, Shrewsbury, Bristol Rovers and AFC Wimbledon, you know, it's the perfect opportunity to get some decent results, and finally getting a win at home when we've got 3 consecutive home games on the bounce, Northampton, and then obviously the next 2 being Shrewsbury and Bristol Rovers. It's the perfect time. Obviously, I didn't watch any of the 4 games, so I'm basing it off what people have said, but there has apparently been a massive improvement to Jason Pearce and Ben Watson. Now, as I say, I haven't watched any of those games, but it is a good sign it is a very good sign to hear that, because Pearce and Watson, I'm not the biggest fan of them, and I think that both of them have been below par this season, because both of those players came into the team after that Blackpool game. As I say, it was a completely different defence against Wigan, a completely different midfield, and it worked. And since then, they've stayed in the side, and they have been part of that squad that have got 7 points out of our last 3 games. And in terms of attacking presence and attacking football, it's not been that great. I mean, if you look at the last 4 games, we've only scored 3 goals. But with us not being that great in the attack, it's allowed us to be somewhat defensively stable. And with us being able to do that, we've then been able to graft and grind for those results. So even though we're sacrificing attacking football and sacrificing attacking presence, with us scoring only 3 goals in our last 4 games, defensively we've looked a lot more stable, with Watson and Pearce coming in the side and playing so well, and obviously Famewo being back is a massive bonus. And of course, recently Ryan Innes has returned to training. As I've said, it does look like we're slowly turning the corner now. It does look like we're getting a good run of form together. I really am hoping that I'm not jinxing it, and ever so slowly fans are starting to believe that the season that was a write-off at the start of the season, that we considered to be over, is now slowly being reignited into a promotion fight. You know, we are ever so slowly getting that back. As I say, we're only a point off the playoffs. Yes, loads of teams have games in hand, but with the form that we're on, it's up to us to keep that form going, and it's up to Bowyer to keep that morale high with the team and to keep it going. Where do I stand in regards to Lee Bowyer? My opinion of him constantly changes all the time. After the Blackpool game, no question, I was Bowyer out. I was just like, he needs to, like, this is just unacceptable at this point. Now we're slowly turning the corner. I'm getting to that opinion again where I want to be patient and I want to see what happens. I know I'm constantly changing my opinion left, right and centre, but, you know, I want to see what happens. But I'm not going to lie to you. I definitely do have doubts about Bowyer, you know, going into the next few games and at the end of the season and long term, you know, whether he's the right man to rebuild. I do have doubts on that based off this season, I won't lie to you. At the moment, we have to say, Bowyer is getting it right, and it is up to him to keep that going and to prove to Sangard and to prove to the fans that he is the right man to lead us forwards. So, that is it for this Charlton Roundup. Hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, can you possibly leave a like, subscribe if you're new around here, and turn on those post notifications so you're notified of when I post. Thank you all so much for 2,800 subscribers. We hit it a few days ago. That is absolutely amazing. We are ever so slowly reaching that target of 3,000 subs, so if we can get to that very soon, that'll be absolutely awesome. Once again, I do apologise for the lack of uploads lately. As I said, I needed a little bit of a break from watching football and YouTube. You know, it was just stressing me out completely. It was just getting on my nerves, and I felt that I needed to step back for a couple of weeks. But we are now back. This has been Tyler Rowlinson. Have a nice day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take it easy, stay safe, and I'll see you all then.